So,
Okay.
what are we doing now?
Lentil soup, vegetarian lentil soup.
Yes.
Lentil soup?
Lentils.
Okay.
The reason that I choose this recipe for someone that I'm helping with their meal planning and trying to get healthy is out of the vegetables, when you're looking at the different vegetable proteins, I'd say in the top 5 for good protein, lentils are in there.
That is a diabetic's best friend.
You love the lentils too, right?
Lentil.
I like
Yes,
lentil.
okay, good.
I could now.
I did good.
That's something I cooked.
job.
I cooked lentil. It was like in a, like a zucchini. No, I mean what do you call that? It was like a tube. What do you call that? Like a macaroni tube, but it was red lentils,
noodle?
organic.
Manicotti,
Oh, lentil pasta?
Lentil pasta.
They make lentil pasta, and that is
Yeah,
an
and it's
I
wonderful.
bought
very
that
good.
from your place.
That's
I
a
Very
think.
good.
wonderful option. It's a wonderful option.
It's good for you.
Yes, and it's made literally, if you look at the ingredients, the name brand that I'm thinking of, it's like lentils and, I don't know, water. I mean, they actually take
Lentils
the
and
lentils, they
water.
ground them down.
And
So
what kind did you use?
the name brand is POW that I know of, P-O-W.
Okay.
There's also an ancient
Yeah.
with mung bean.
I can look in my,
Yeah.
on my phone because I've got a copy of it.
But it's a diabetic's friend.
Right.
So for those people who are diabetics out there, this is something you need to have in your menu.
And they've just taken lentil beans and were creative in their
they powder
form,
it.
and you can make pasta with it. I did it for my children a couple weeks ago, and my daughter busted
liked
me,
it?
but my son did not.
Yeah, my
My 12-year-old was like,
neither
wait,
one of
Mom,
them
what's
would
this?
eat it.
But Luke
I
did. He
tried.
didn't know.
But maybe I'll learn today how to make it better.
Yeah. Well, we're not using that today. We're actually making a
Oh.
soup where lentils are the star of the soup.
Okay.
There's other good things in there, but I chose it for the
This
lentil.
is a soup.
Yes, ma'am. This will be like our main course of this meal. Okay? All right. It's a good one, too. I've made it a few times. I do like it. All right. We're first going to start with a 1/4 cup of organic extra virgin olive oil. And that seems like a lot, but what's going to happen in this soup is at the end, that's going to add to the creaminess and it's going to feel like a nice, good, thick, hearty soup because that oil is being used. Okay, so we're going to add about a 1/4 cup.
Oh, look at her, just pouring it in there.
I'm just pouring it in there, and I don't want it to get too hot. Okay.
Now,
I
what's
see-
in there now?
Yeah, smoking.
Anything?
Let me see if I got a different one.
Empty pot?
Yeah, it was just a hot pot. Let's see here.
What do you need? One
I'm going to change the pot because
Here,
it was a
and
little hot.
here's the stuff over here.
Let me move
Just
that.
make sure you wipe it out.
That's
when you-
well. There's our
a
example
pot
of
right
don't
there.
you don't want olive oil to.
There's a pot right in front of you. Or is
Smoke.
that not big
That's
enough?
not big enough.
Here, I've got one right here.
Yeah, we got one here, a nice one.
It's a pretty one.
Here, here's a big one.
You got a good one? Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry
that's
about that.
Just rinse it out always.
It's one thing to have your burner ready. Another thing to have it too hot.
Well, you know what? We had pots that we first gave, that people gave us, and then one day I saved money and I bought a pair of pots
Good for you.
that we can really
Put
use.
that right
that are
here, Martha.
stainless
Let's make sure
steel.
we don't make the same mistake again.
Make sure the bottom's.
And then I'll get the stuff in first. All right, so we're starting that over. So we've got our organic extra virgin olive oil going into the pot. I love the flavor of olive oil.
That's about a half a cup.
Yeah, probably about a half a
It's
cup.
okay. It's okay.
I eyeball, you know.
I love
I know.
it.
I mean, this is going to end up a full pot of soup, so that's a good base of our olive oil. Okay, the next thing that we're going to add is a medium white onion. Now, I've gone ahead and started here with this one. If you want to start there, Martha, cutting that one. That good? Just chop it? We're just going to chop them. Okay?
Okay.
One whole onion. You know, and recipes are never going to be perfectly exact because, you know, even sizes of onions vary, right?
Yes.
But like Martha was saying, onions are so good for you. They contain quercetin, which is good for your immune system. You can also find it in the skin of apples. That's something that they have in common. But one of the coolest things, always bring this up because this is so cool for me, is how God made food to look like what it's good for. Remember how we've talked about that?
Yeah.
Onions, the best description they can put on it is it's good for every cell in your body. And does it not look like a cell?
It does.
It does.
Isn't that neat? And it also, like Martha was saying, it will absorb the toxins in the air. So it does that in your body. When you eat onions, it's going through there and it's absorbing the toxins. Word to the wise with that, though, is you don't want to store an onion in your refrigerator that's been
Yes.
cut and then use it a week later because it has been in there
Absorb
clean in your
everything.
fridge. But remember, we don't want to eat our filters,
Now,
right?
what
We don't-
about if it's in a plastic bag? It still cleans the
I
fridge?
still
I
wouldn't.
still
I
wouldn't.
think just use the whole thing.
Use the whole thing.
That
Now,
is-
let me
yeah.
tell you this. My grandson had high fever, when he was little, one of
Good.
my grandsons. And I went and put an onion on his foot because I heard the onion will pull the fever out
Okay.
and on the sole of his foot. He says, Grandma Dorothy, don't put an onion on me. Pray for me.
Do both. Do both.
Jesus heals me, not the onion.
Yeah.
Wasn't that cool?
It is.
Well,
what
you
he
can
said.
also make an onion poultice for an earache. Put it behind the ear, and
What's that for?
for an earache,
It takes the earache out?
takes the earache out. If you can,
So how do you do that?
okay.
Should have put it behind your ear.
Yeah,
just
you-
the onion?
You kind of you can blend it up to where it's soupy like this because they sweat very easily, and then you can get it on a cloth, a piece of gauze or something, and then put a Band-Aid or some tape, some surgical tape over it. Leave it overnight, and that'll pull the infection out.
Look
Leave
at
a
that.
onion behind you overnight.
All right, so
Okay.
we've got our olive oil, our onions. Martha's finishing with the second half of the onion. They are nice and sauteing right now. That's perfect.
Is that pretty good?
Of course, garlic's coming next. We've got our garlic that we've chopped and we've let hang out on the board for 15 minutes or so.
Natural
Again,
and
add
light.
that. Even when the recipe tells me to start with garlic, I do not because it's a
No.
big risk because you can definitely burn it really fast.
I got to tell you this. I
So
don't know
having
if-
the onions in there as their companion kind of makes that a little.
I got to tell you this. My master control operator in the morning is a diabetic. And he said if you eat a clove of onion every night, of garlic every night with a spoon of honey, it brings your A1C down. Is that true?
Try it and see.
Well,
I've
it
never
happened
heard of
with
that.
him.
Well, if
It's
it works,
come
I never
down.
tell somebody that if they found something that works, I never tell them no, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, a glass of water, just a crystal of this under the tongue, let it dissolve, and then drink a glass of water behind it, and that mineralizes your body. And the magnesium's in this transports the water across the cell membrane so that it can go in and nourish and cleanse the cell. And that in and of itself, water will bring down blood sugar. And it's the most wonderful blood thinner, the cheapest blood thinner, people. Water, drinking plenty of water will thin the blood. Exercise, 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 exercise. I cannot stress that enough. And actually, high intensity interval training is the smartest way to go. To where you're not spending a lot of time, but you're really getting that heart rate up. And it's easier on the body, and even anybody can do it. A caveman can do it.
A caveman.
Just say that.
Ooh, I can get the onions just hit my eyes.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm putting in
it's
ground
just got my
cumin. I'm doing 2 teaspoons of it. So I just put in the first. This is ground cumin. All right, Martha, what do you know about cumin?
Okay, I don't eat a lot of it.
You don't?
No, it is good and healthy. I mean, the spices are all good for helping to cleanse the blood.
Right? I know black
Obviously-
cumin seed oil is big in the anti-inflammatory world.
Right, but
right?
we've got so many. Even your onion and your garlics are anti-inflammatory.
Sure, sure.
And so we all pick and choose. I like a little bit of cumin, not a lot of cumin.
It gives you that Mexican or
Yeah.
Spanish flavor.
Yeah.
That's really it. The next thing going in is a teaspoon of curry powder.
Curry
Very
I
powder.
love curry powder.
Indian
And
spice,
turmeric is in there. That's what gives it that color.
and that's great for helping with pathogens that your body doesn't know how to process.
Okay.
That's why when you go to Mexico, when you go to India,
Oh,
they're
the smell.
wise. They use a lot of spices, and that helps their bodies to assimilate and neutralize.
So you put turmeric. What do you
Turmeric.
call
It had
turmeric?
well, turmeric is one of the ingredients in curry powder. Curry powder is actually a blend of spices used in curry. It's not its own seasoning. Then we have ground thyme, just really good for flavor.
And that's antipathogen too. Great
Yep.
for cleansing
There
the
we go.
air.
We have a little extra in there. That's fine. When you're making a soup, I noticed that most recipes, and this is why, you start with adding your hearty ingredients like your onion and your garlic that's going to absorb flavors, and add all your spices at that point. I mean, if you look in there right now, look at those. Look at how that looks.
Wow.
And that
looks
flavor is
great.
really getting into those onions. And then when we come behind and add our liquid and our other ingredients, it's going to have a really solid base of flavor.
Yes.
So that's a good process, a good tip when you make your soups. And many times I make up my own soup, right? How many times do we go
Yeah.
into our refrigerator and you have some veggies that might be a little past that you want to eat
Throw
them
it in the
raw?
pot.
You just make a soup. And soups are so healthy because although we are cooking, we're not once we have the liquid in there, those nutrients that have maybe escaped the onions or the beans or whatever are still in the liquid. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's keeping everything at least a little more contained than if we did it, if we just sauteed them and then drained off the juices. Make sense?
I bet you have the most healthy kids in the world.
I don't know. We try. We try just like everybody else, right? You just
Eating
try.
all that good
A lot
food.
of it is just what you do at the grocery store. You find if you can be wise and methodical at the grocery store, it's a lot easier to be wise and methodical at home.
Yeah,
Give
don't,
yourself the
don't bring it
options.
home if you're worried
Give
about.
yourself the options of healthy
Yeah.
things, right?
What
okay,
is
now
that?
we are going to add, this is diced tomatoes.
Diced
These are diced tomatoes. So I'm going to add, it's about 28 ounces of those right into the pot. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that looks so good.
Don't you smell that curry?
Look at the colorful
And this is a
rainbow
fun,
right here.
This is a fun soup to make because now we're just going to be throwing everything in. All right, a cup of green lentils. Martha, you already said these are one of your favorite.
Yes.
In this recipe, you don't have to pre-cook them. These are just picked over, they've been rinsed, but they are going to cook in the soup. So when it's time to eat it,
And those
they're
are
going
organic. You have those at your
Yep,
store.
organic green lentils. Yep. They're
Now
going,
listen, you need to go visit their store. They have, I wish it were here in North Augusta, but they have the cutest cafe there in the back, and they're eating healthy foods. It's,
what's the name? Yeah.
yeah,
The Chico.
Di Chico's. Yes, Di Chico's.
The trick question.
Trick question, Di Chico's.
All right, so we put in our lentils. Now we have 4 cups of veggie broth.
And you can, just the veggie broth you buy at the store.
Or you can make your own.
Make your own, yeah.
I mean, every bit of this can be completely, I mean, in veggie broth, you can make it by boiling vegetables,
And straining them.
right? And then you can keep it all organic that way if you want. All right, so we've got our liquid in there, our 4 cups of veggie broth. Okay, cup of garbanzo beans. Actually, that's about 2 cups. These have just been soaked overnight. Chickpeas. You love chickpeas?
I do. In moderation.
They're
I love tahini. I
They're a
love
good
tahini.
carb.
Yeah.
Chickpeas are actually a carb.
Yeah, but they are still a legume,
For sure.
which means that they will not spike your blood sugar like breads will, like sugar will, like caffeine will.
Yeah.
Caffeine spikes blood sugar. It's really rough on the body.
Okay.
So knowing these things helps people out.
All right, black beans are next.
I like
Good old
black
organic
beans.
black beans. Now these have been cooked. I boiled these because I don't believe the cooking time will be enough in the soup to soften them up. And then I'm going to add 2 more cups of water.
Well, and to neutralize the starch in the beans, to help people get processing better, because a lot of people have problems with it creating too much wind. So if they'll soak the beans overnight, throw out the dirty water, cook them, throw out the water, and then use them.
I do that.
Their body will process it a lot easier without the pain. And anytime we create unnecessary gas, that's a chemical explosion, and that's not good for our body.
No, beans
Whoa.
do make a chemical explosion.
When you put it that way.
I've had those a few times.
Yeah.
2 teaspoons of Celtic sea salt once again.
Don't be afraid of the salt. It's not our enemy, just
No.
like the sun's not our enemy. Okay?
Okay.
Cracked black pepper. Good salt. We need good salt to survive, okay? All right, now we are going to add, our carrots go in last.
Really?
Well, right now they do.
Want a bit?
All right, so we're going to let this come to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, we're going to let it simmer. After it comes to a boil, we need the boil to get those lentils cooking and to get, to get them kind of softening up. After it comes to a boil, then we're going to let it simmer. When we do that, we're going to take a few cups out. We're going to blend them. Blend those cups in the Ninja right here. Put it back in. That's how we're going to thicken it. At that point, we're going to add some greens and some lemon. But that's going to take probably about 15 minutes for that stage to happen. I would love to be able to get out some of this soup. We talked about that earlier. Here's that step. You can do this with any soup. I'm going to take out 2 cups. With any soup that's hearty that you would like to thicken up a little bit without having to make a roux or do anything like that, you can take a couple cups of the soup out of the pot. Let's hope this works. Oh yeah. We're going to blend it. we're gonna just put that, now this is hot, so I have to be careful.
Now, what was that? I'm sorry. I was.
Okay, these are.
I
I
just
think
took a
these
couple
got too
cups of the
done.
soup out
Uh-huh.
to blend. Gotta let that air
So
escape.
it can.
And then I'm going to put it back in. This is how we can thicken the soup without having to add any other flour or, you know, sometimes I've made soups before where you take it out of the pot, you make a roux, and you put it back
Yeah.
in. But this is just a nice trick. That has made it yet a little bit thicker. And the way that you finish this soup off, you know, this is fresh spinach that I've just kind of broke apart with my hand. And I add that at the end so that it doesn't get, you know, just so cooked down that
Yeah.
it just goes away. I like seeing the green within. Okay, so we're going to stir that spinach in. And that will cook down. It will not be so bold. And then I just love this part, y'all. This soup with all that flavor, the curry and the tomato and everything and the lentil.
You're putting some more lemon
I'm
in
gonna
it?
put some lemon on top. Can you believe that? And when you taste it, and I serve it with lemon slices on top, when you taste it, you go, oh, actually, I wouldn't have put lemon with that, but man, does
really
that
good.
brighten it up? Yeah. So there we go. You see how that's thicker? It's
Looks
like
wonderful.
it went from just being like, you know, a broth-based soup to a little bit thicker.
Let's get a shot of the
pretty.
soup, please. I think it looks wonderful. Doesn't that look great?
Yeah, it does.
I can hardly wait.